Hey, everybody. Welcome into another episode of the Connection Loop podcast. We're super excited to welcome in Robynn Storey today, who's the founder and CEO of Storyline Resumes, who's basically revolutionized the resume writing and career services area. And she actually has a hand-picked team that creates tailor-made resumes that showcase clients' skills, making Storyline Resumes one of the top destinations for resume assistance and the overall holistic career services that help redefine professional writing globally. So Robynn's also an author as well. Robynn, you love being your authentic self. Welcome into the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. Thrilled to be here.
That's awesome. Well, listen, let's start out. Introduce yourself to everybody. Who is Robynn? What is she all about? How did she get to where she is today? Just a little intro would be nice for everybody.
So Robynn Storey, CEO and owner of Storyline Resumes. I tell the story about how I started this business because I really just wanted to get my kids on and off the school bus. I didn't want to go till I was working in corporate America. And I'm like, I need to work from home. So what can I do? And that's sort of how it was born. So 25 years later, of course, now the kids are grown and gone. But that's how Storyline Resumes came about. I just found that, with my background, I had done some work in marketing. I worked a little bit in HR through the years. I thought this is sort of a cool thing. I can help people really tell their stories. And then when they started getting interviews and landing really great jobs, I was like, well, I can make a business out of this. And that's how Storyline Resumes was born.
It sounds like it was a momentum snowball that kept going.
It was a momentum snowball. No one was more surprised than I was. After the first year, I hired my first writer. Then the second year, my, second and third. And then I hired an admin and then a couple of salespeople. And now we're 70 people strong. The main focus of our company, outside of course helping our clients to tell their best professional stories, is to create an atmosphere where people can work from home. They can have dinner with their kids. They can be there to put them to bed. They have flexibility. That is such an important thing for me, and to be able to empower women and especially working mothers has really been my objective. We've got folks that work for us that started when their kids were in kindergarten and now they're in college. So it's been such a blessing and sort of a passion of mine to create that kind of environment. So
that's amazing. That's so cool to see the growth of everyone for that period of time too, as well. So our audience made up a lot of sales leaders, entrepreneurs, people that are looking to improve their sales, improve their game, improve just different strategies. And when we have this podcast, it's amazing because we have guests on like yourself that are able to talk about their experience, what they do, their philosophies on things. And I know that authenticity and storytelling in particular is a big part of what you've been doing over the years. So talk a little bit about your storytelling philosophy and why that would be important for someone watching this.
So our storytelling philosophy in resumes is just because resumes are inherently boring documents. If you pull open your own resume and you're reading it and you're bored, just imagine how someone who is reading 200 resumes to fill a position might feel about your resume as they're reading it. So for us, we've taken a little bit of a different approach. We want it to feel more genuine. We want it to feel more like someone can immerse themselves in your experience. So say, for instance, you're a salesperson and on your resume, you typically have things like, I set cold call appointments, or I have this many appointments, or, I drive leads this way. Instead of that, tell someone on your resume the story of a success situation that you've had, a customer that you've worked with. What was their problem? What did you sell them? What was the solution? How much money did that generate in terms of real revenue for your company? That's what's interesting. Everyone knows what a salesperson does, but when you're talking about your sales and your strategy and the unique things that you do to get in front of other people, that's what really piques the interest of hiring managers. And then on the sales side of it, so if you're a person who is in sales and you want to leverage LinkedIn or you want to leverage some other social media to capture, potential opportunities or leads, like we talked a little bit earlier, I'm on LinkedIn telling stories all the time. I don't really talk a whole lot about resumes, but people read my stories. 200 million people a year read my stories, and they see my name, and then they go to my page, and that's how, our sales calendars fill. So instead of sort of this hard press or, hey, I'm selling this, call me, let's make an appointment, which nobody wants to hear. I just told a story about my husband losing his hearing in the 30s, and our calendars are filled for the rest of the week. So it's just... LinkedIn is one of those crazy platforms that, sometimes you can achieve different objectives that you didn't even set out to achieve.
It seems like the through line through everything that you're saying is really about the authenticity and being engaging and interesting. Like you're saying, you worked at XYZ company and you worked X position. But what does that even mean, though? What does that mean, right? Like, what would you pull from that?
That's exactly right. I mean, ultimately, whenever you're telling this story, I'll go back to the resume piece, right? When you're telling this story, there's a couple of key things that people are really interested in, right? Sex, drugs, and rock and roll, I always say. But they're very interested in money. They're very interested in results. So the more content you can create around your own personal brand, your own story that ping things that other people are interested in, that's what you want to do. Like I often, I have a million different stories, of course, because, I've talked to hundreds of thousands of people through the years. I had a client one time who was a former NFL player. Not all NFL players retire and have, bazillions of dollars, right? So this guy, he owned a couple of nightclubs. That's where he invested his money. He was also married and had 5 kids. And one day he came home from said nightclub and his wife said, listen, it's either the nightclubs or us. You're gallivanting around restaurants and nightclubs every night of the week. I'm home raising 5 kids. You're either going to get out, get a job, or do something. So anyway, he got referred to us and we worked with him. And so at the very top of his resume, the first thing we put was former NFL football player, right? Why? That's sexy. So is former FBI agent. So is top producing, small business salesperson for IBM. You want to always lead with the things that gather attention, and don't be ashamed of that or that approach, because that's, in a sea of black and white resumes where people are saying the same things over and over or creating them with AI, right? Yeah. You want to stand out. You want to stand apart.
So when you're talking about creating your unique brand for these folks, is it like an alien territory for a lot of them, or do they get it right away, or how?
It's an alien territory for a lot of people. And I think that, especially our clients tend to be a little bit older, more senior level, more executive level. We all grew up with the same sort of mindset. Don't brag about yourself, be humble, yada, 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 yada. So especially folks in their maybe 50s, they have a harder time kind of buying into that. It feels very braggadocious. And, we say, forget that. Humility has no place on your resume. We don't make you sound like an overbearing jerk, right? But we do want to highlight the things that make you special and unique because you've earned it. So that's really the biggest thing that we run into, where people don't want to oversell, and they're never overselling.
The feedback over the years from the branding part of it, from the hiring folks, do you ever have people call you up and say, wow, that was just amazing. What a great, the resume was awesome. I mean,
oh my God. Really... I can tell you every single day I get a message from someone that we worked with that said, I just got hired from, and the recruiter said, this is the best resume I ever saw. And it probably was the best resume, but it's just because it was interesting. Because resumes are so boring in general. If it's interesting, if you can kind of walk people through an evolution that you started here and you started in this title, and then 6 months later you got promoted internally, and then the CEO called on you to do this special project. It's like the shit that you're not even thinking about day to day, right? This is the stuff that really should be in your resume. It's the things that make you you, and it makes you interesting. Because when you're a recruiter, especially now, the market is so tight. The amount of talent on this market is unlike anything I've ever seen in 25 years. There are more smart top producers, top performers, brilliant people looking for a job. So you better be coming with your A game.
It's like an incredible draft class in sports almost every year. And this is probably the most talented draft class probably in a while.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you're right. It's like having Terry Bradshaw and,
Hey, you've got Aaron Rodgers now. If you're a Steelers fan, you got Aaron Rodgers.
And Tom Brady all in the same draft class. Yeah, that's exactly right. Everybody's a superstar.
So talk about a little bit, and this is a big one for us, because with us, AI is a big part of what we do with video sales and what we do with Dub. But for you, what's your take on AI? How has it affected the resume world in terms of writing and reading? Like, the AI that reviews sometimes resumes, right? On the other side, like, where do you kind of sit with that, and what's kind of your
advice? I love it. I love AI. I think it does a lot to save time. So between 2023 and current, there's been a huge bloodletting of recruiters in this country. A lot of companies have cut their budgets for recruiting and talent acquisition because they're not really in growth mode. They're in status quo mode, right? There are some industries that are growing, some that are leveling off, and some that are dying. So recruiters now have to do more with less. So AI is a phenomenal tool if it's used correctly. So I'm like a huge fan, and I consult for companies that are hiring as well. I'm a huge fan of using the AI vetting tools. So, if you've got a job description that you've written, you've deemed that job description to be a reasonable list of qualifications, not 28 things, but 10 things. And then you drop it into your AI tool and say, create 5 vetting questions to get to the bottom of whether or not this candidate is qualified for this position. So if you can create those vetting questions, and then you're not having people applying for jobs that they won't ever be considered for, you're much better off. So the number of applicants has gone way up. Recruiters are doing more with less. The smarter they can use AI to sort of do the vetting piece for them, the more time they'll really have to get to know the candidates that they want to talk to. I was talking to a client a couple of weeks ago, and he applied for a job that they had 900 applicants. And he said to himself, there's no way I'm even going to get a call. Well, not only did he get a call, he ended up getting the job. So the recruiter that sort of was his buddy throughout the whole process, he finally said to her once he was hired, he said, how in God's name did you pick out my resume from 900 applicants? And she said, she did what I said. She said, we used a series of vetting questions. She goes, at the end, we only had maybe 30 qualified applicants. They only interviewed 8 people. I mean, so you're talking, so when you see a job posting online and you see 900 applicants, don't be afraid of that.
That's really interesting, the inside baseball stuff that you have over the years in terms of what you've seen, because I would imagine today too, along with the branding, the storytelling, there's also probably going to be an understanding of just the different tech knowledge that someone has now, because it's a little different. Back in the day, remember you had to have like Excel, and certain positions, you had to have certain qualifications, obviously,
right?
Certain backgrounds. But I would imagine you've probably seen candidates as well that have such great stories to tell that maybe they went into positions where maybe they learned a lot of the different stuff that they had,
Oh my God, it's like phenomenal. But AI is one of those things, it's not like when you got a big enterprise-wide tech system rollout, right? Which sometimes fall flat, which sometimes fail, which sometimes there's so many glitches that business comes to a standstill. AI, like a Chat GPT or the some of the other AI, that's easy stuff. It's like AI for dummies. You tell it what to do and it does it, and it does it better than you could do it, So it's a phenomenal tool if used properly, even in a job search. So this is actually, I think, the definition of irony. So on the hiring side, they use a lot of technology to evaluate, you as a candidate, right? But when they're actually looking at resumes, when they're actually hiring, they don't want resumes that are generated by AI. I've never seen an anti-AI product created so quickly than was done by the hiring industry. They've created AI detectors and AI bots that can determine whether or not your resume and your cover letter has been written by AI, and they just immediately discount you. They do not want that. They're looking for genuine. I talked to a recruiter the other day that said, I would rather see people misspell their own name on their resume than send me another AI generated resume. She's like, I can't take it.
Or how about a handwritten one and then it's just scanned and sent?
It could really be anything. But the thing is getting it's getting to the point where, young people are getting out of college and they're applying for, entry-level positions, and the recruiter for that job, she's getting 27 of the same cover letters.
There you go. It's that repetition of the same thing.
Yeah, and that's a turn off for people. Nobody wants to feel like they're an afterthought. Everybody wants to feel a little bit special.
Yeah. Talk about this a little bit, strategy-wise. Our crowd loves strategy. So we always ask everyone, what have you seen from your side with what you do, Robynn? Like within the last 2024, 25, almost heading into 26, what is kind of work that you've noticed? Because a lot of times, companies right now especially pivot a lot with their strategies. They do it for a little bit, but the time frame is shortened in terms of giving it the long leash of what's going to work. What have you seen? And you mentioned LinkedIn stories. I imagine that's a big part of what you do, because you have over 1 million followers on LinkedIn. You know what I mean?
Look, I always joke that, I'm a one-trick pony. So the only social media presence I have, period, is on LinkedIn, and it's worked for us. What we've done as a business, though, is we've adapted our offerings. So I never ever wanted to get into like job placement or helping people look for a job or even career coaching. I just, we were so good at resumes. We just did resumes and resume packages only. But we've really changed that up through the years, and we have found that job searching is such a daunting task that sometimes people need some hand-holding.
Right.
They definitely need coaching. They need other products and services. So over the past few years, we've rolled out quite a lot of products and services, everything from resume distribution to really expansive career coaching and leadership coaching, really expansive programs that help, allow us and our teams to help people actually go through the application, the interviewing, the hiring, the negotiation of the salary part of it. So it's sort of like a one size fits all. It's like a white glove service for, more senior and executive level people, but you have to pivot. You can't always be one thing.
Yeah. And that sounds like an amazing,
I don't even know why I just said that.
Well, I mean, it's an amazing evolution because, like, again, it's like the pivot of what you're trying to do, because someone might say, oh man, first of all, I didn't even know I had a brand. That's cool. I didn't realize that. I didn't understand the storytelling was such an amazing part of this. Okay, great. But now that I've done that, I still need a little help. Can you, you know what I mean? So I feel like people, I think today are probably very big on the inclusivity of like, hey, we can handle this whole thing for you.
Yes.
You don't need, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So we have a program that we do where, we bring you on board, we have you meet with our coaches, then we kind of help you develop your strategy around what you should be applying for, how it is that you're going to apply, what are the most effective tools, how do you network, how do you activate your network, all of the things that job seekers need in a way that is above and beyond, here's a resume, go have at it. And it's been incredibly helpful for people, especially folks that have been with a company for a long period of time. Job searching has changed so drastically over the past couple of decades. I'm old enough to remember when you walked in, you dropped off a resume, somebody maybe walked out and talked with you and offered you a job after a 15-minute chat. I mean, now it's like, you have to give away your firstborn and, name your first child after the CEO's grandmother if you want an offer. So there's, there's definitely some folks that, they're great at what they do. They just haven't conducted a modern day job search. And we really, offer programs for that.
Talk a little bit about what's really close to your heart. We mentioned this before we started, but the anti-network that you talked about. Talk about that to everybody.
Yeah. So my nephew got married last year, and my sister had texted all of us. We're in a group chat called the Aunties. So it's aunties, actual aunts, and then it's, our grown-up friends that have sort of been, like mothers to our own children. And she said, I'm wearing blue for the wedding. And I said, well, if you're wearing blue for the wedding, we're all wearing blue in solidarity with you. So all the aunties showed up to the wedding in blue. And so, it's so funny because on LinkedIn, I get asked for advice so much, and I want to guide, especially young women and young men that are having a rough time, but I want to guide them in ways that maybe don't have anything to do with job searching or, looking for a promotion. I want to say things like, go to your grandma's on Sunday and sit down with her and take a notebook and write down her best recipes, right? I want to tell them things like, don't save the bridesmaid dress. I promise you'll never wear it again. Or take a vacation by yourself. Like, I want to offer advice that is outside of, what people would normally come to me for advice. So anyway, I got this bright idea and I said on LinkedIn, I'm going to create something called the Auntie Network. And so I did. And I posted the story about the aunties in the picture from the wedding. And so far we've had 1,500 women join. They have to be women with professional careers, with something to offer, with advice to give. We're looking for people that are a little bit more mature, that can really step in when a young person is struggling. So we have launched the Auntie Network. And so if you are on LinkedIn and you need advice or you need help, all you need to do is post and then tag us, hashtag the Auntie Network, and someone from that group of women, which is growing every single day. In really a week's time, we've had 1,500 people sign up to be an Auntie. empty. So, and it's all women. We did have some men approach us to join the Auntie Network, but we're not ready for that right now. We're going to keep it to the ladies only. And so anything from, you know, this is my first interview, what do I wear, to I'm being harassed at work, how do I handle this? And you have an army now of women behind you willing to offer advice and guidance.
That's amazing. Wow, you're doing so much. I think the people watching today, like, just take away, storytelling, branding, support, networks, be interesting. What would be your, before we head out for today, what's your piece of advice for people watching it in terms of whether they're leaving a position, trying to get their resumes together, like you said? What's some of the advice that you would give to them? Just maybe because this might be new to someone.
This is the advice that I have been giving for 25 years. You're going to have always two things. You're going to have a short resume and a long resume. Your short resume is the one that you're going to update a little bit, and you're going to send it out when you're applying for a job. You're going to have your long resume. By the end of your career, that should be 40 or 50 pages. Every single year, a couple of times a year, sit down, look through your performance reviews, take 10 minutes and write down things that you are particularly proud of, that you accomplished that year, whether or not it's you met a sales goal, you won an award, you landed a particularly difficult customer, you won someone over that you didn't think would ever buy anything from you. Anything. It could really be anything. And keep that. That's like the long form resume, right? Or your brag book or whatever. And through the years, when you are evolving and it's time for you to move into a new role, you're not sitting like most people trying to think what the hell you did in a job 9 years ago that anybody is going to care about. You'll have something to refer to. So the best advice that I have is to document, whether it's you take a half an hour or an hour through the course of the year to do that. It is the best thing that you can have as you evolve in your career that you can call on.
That's amazing. I mean, I think for the people that have realized storytelling is a wonderful thing, that's awesome. But I think a lot of people out there professionally, when they first think about that resume, is bullet point, bullet point. Wait, what about the story though? Like, so that's such a great thing that you've been doing for years. And I'm so glad.
I mean, we actually use every client that we work with, we have them send us a couple of quotes, nice things that people have said about them. Do you know how phenomenal it is when you're feeling down and out? Maybe you're looking for a job, you haven't had much luck, your resume isn't very effective, and you work with someone to get that all together, and then you reach out to an old boss or a peer, and you're kind of feeling like shit about everything that's going on because you can't get an interview, and an old boss messages you and sends you, like, you were like the best salesperson I've had on my team. Do you remember that one time when we did this or this or this? And you're like, oh, yeah, that is me. So, I mean, we even include like quotes from other people on your resume, because ultimately the more genuine you appear, the more people can relate to you, the more calls you're going to get. That leads to more interviews, which leads to more choices, which leads to better opportunities.
It's amazing. Robynn, thank you for telling your story today, and appreciate you being here. And we would love to have you come on again, because your advice is really timely in a world that really wants authenticity, really is going beyond the lines in terms of what is that person really going to do for that company and what they say about themselves. It makes a lot of sense. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Bye, everybody. We'll see you next episode.